Have you ever felt like a stranger in your own skin? A ghost haunting the corridors of your own life? It's a disquieting sensation, isn't it? As if there's an invisible current, a powerful undertow, pulling you in directions you didn't consciously choose, whispering thoughts into your mind that feel alien, thoughts you don't recognize as your own. You're at a peaceful dinner, and a small, innocuous comment from a loved one triggers a sudden, violent volcano of rage that erupts from your core, leaving you and everyone around you scorched and bewildered. You finally meet someone who sees you, who offers the genuine love you've been yearning for your entire life, and you find yourself meticulously, almost clinically, pushing them away, sabotaging the very connection your soul craves. You climb the ladder of your career. You stand on the precipice of a massive, life-altering success, a moment you have bled and sacrificed for, only to inexplicably tear it all down in a single act of carelessness. It's the feeling of being a passenger, strapped into the driver's seat of your own body, watching your hands steer you toward a cliff's edge. You feel controlled by a master puppeteer whose strings are woven into the very fabric of your being, strings you can't see, let alone grasp. If this feeling, this deep, unnerving resonance, is echoing within the chambers of your soul, I implore you to listen closely, to be fully present for this sacred transmission. You are not going crazy. Let me repeat that, so it sinks into every cell of your being. You are not going crazy. You are not fundamentally broken. You are simply living in the shadow of an awareness you have not yet claimed, unaware of the most powerful, dynamic, and profoundly misunderstood part of who you are. This hidden force, this sleeping giant within, has a name given to us by the great spiritual cartographer of the 20th century, Carl Jung. He called it the Shadow Self. And I promise you, by the end of our journey together today, you will not only understand this magnificent and terrifying force, but you will hold the very key to its transformation. You will learn how to turn your greatest saboteur into your most profound source of power, your deepest well of creativity, and your most direct line to divine truth. If this message is already stirring something within you, a faint flicker of recognition in the forgotten depths of your being, acknowledge it now. Honor this divine appointment. Embrace this moment of powerful connection by liking this video, subscribing to join our ever-growing collective on this path of awakening, and let your soul find its voice in the comments below. A simple declaration like, "I am ready," or the potent vibration of the number 777, is a powerful signal to the universe, a sacred contract with your higher self, declaring that you are prepared to step out of the shadows and into your glorious wholeness. Your story, your struggle, and your courage matter more than you know. Sharing it might be the very lighthouse another soul, lost in the same storm, has been desperately praying for. Let us now embark on a sacred journey, a voyage not across oceans or stars, but into the vast, intricate cosmos of your inner world. Imagine, for a moment, that your consciousness is a sprawling, magnificent mansion. It has many levels, countless corridors, and a grand facade. The rooms on the main floor are bathed in sunlight, meticulously decorated and open for all to see. These are the sunlit rooms of your persona, the version of you that you present to the world. Here, you display your trophies of kindness, your polished furniture of achievement, your carefully arranged vases of patience, and your welcoming, ever-present smile. This is the you that is acceptable, the you that earns praise, the beautiful and necessary mask we all wear to navigate society. But every mansion, no matter how grand, has its hidden architecture. Every estate has a basement, a cellar, a series of locked rooms in the attic where things are stored, forgotten, and left to gather dust in the dark. Down in these forgotten subterranean chambers of your psyche is where the shadow resides. It is not a place of evil, but a sacred vault, a holy archive where you've locked away every single part of yourself you were taught was unacceptable, unworthy, shameful, or unlovable. And understand this crucial truth. It's not just the darkness you imagine. It's not merely a dungeon for your rage, your jealousy, your greed, or your primal lusts. No, it is so much more. It is also the storage room for your untamed, explosive creativity that was deemed too much or impractical by a world that fears the unbridled. It is the chamber that holds your raw, fierce, unapologetic ambition that was labeled selfish or bossy. It is the quiet, tender room that contains your profound, heart-wrenching vulnerability that was cruelly called weakness. It is the vibrant, chaotic ballroom that houses your wild, untethered, ecstatic joy that was repeatedly told to calm down and be reasonable. The shadow self, you see, is the repository not only of your disowned darkness, but also of your disowned gold. It is the collection of all the radiant, powerful parts of you that you were forced to amputate from your spirit in order to fit into the painfully small, suffocating boxes prescribed by your family, your culture, your religion, and ultimately, by yourself. In the noble quest for acceptance and belonging, you became a fractured, incomplete version of your magnificent, whole self. But here, we encounter a fundamental, unyielding universal law, a truth as certain as gravity. What you resist not only persists, it grows in power. The more you bolt the doors to those locked rooms and pretend they don't exist, the more furiously the entities within begin to bang and rattle the handles. The more you ignore the mournful whispers rising from the cellar, the more they begin to seep like a toxic vapor through the floorboards, poisoning the very air in the sunlit rooms above. You may be smiling in the parlor, but you can't shake the feeling of dread, the scent of decay rising from below. This is the great, tragic paradox of the shadow. By denying its existence, by refusing to acknowledge it, you don't destroy it. You grant it absolute, tyrannical power over you. It then operates from the unseen realm of your unconscious, becoming the hidden architect of your reality, the secret director of your life's movie. It is from here that it projects its pain, its fears, and its desires onto the screen of your existence. This is precisely what Carl Jung meant when he so wisely declared, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Let those words sink in. Ponder them. Let them vibrate through the very marrow of your bones. What you call fate, the seemingly endless pattern of attracting emotionally unavailable partners, the recurring cycle of financial struggles that keeps you just on the edge of survival, the devastating loops of self-sabotage that pull you down right before you break through. This is not some random external force acting upon you. It is the unhealed, unacknowledged, unloved shadow self, replaying its original wounds over and over and over again, like a broken record, begging with every fiber of its being to finally be seen, to finally be heard, to finally be healed. You are not a victim of a cruel destiny. You are living within the intricate, self-fulfilling blueprint of a script your wounded inner child unconsciously wrote years ago, a script you now have the divine power to rewrite. So how does this invisible force, this ghostly director, manifest in the tangible reality of your day-to-day life? Its most common and insidious disguise, the one it wears most often in public, is projection. Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt an instant, visceral, and utterly irrational wave of dislike or judgment wash over you? Perhaps it's a colleague at work, a new person in your social circle, or even a celebrity on a screen. That person you find insufferably arrogant, annoyingly loud, or pathetically needy. Pay close attention. Feel that intense emotional charge in your body. Your shadow is using them as a divine mirror, a sacred reflection. That intense energy you feel is a signal, a spiritual alarm bell of the highest order, indicating that this person is reflecting a quality that you yourself possess but have disowned, denied, and locked away in the deepest part of your inner cellar. The arrogance you so despise in them? It may very well be a distorted reflection of your own magnificent, unapologetic confidence that you were taught as a child was boastful and unseemly, a confidence you were forced to silence. The cloying neediness you can't stand in another? It could be the mirror to your own deep, unmet, and aching need for connection and vulnerability. A beautiful human quality that you've judged and labeled as weak, and pathetic. Your shadow, denied its own voice, projects onto others what it is not allowed to express within you. It turns the world into a grand stage where you are constantly battling against distorted funhouse mirror reflections of your own hidden self. When you find yourself pointing an accusatory finger at someone else, remember the ancient wisdom. There are always three of your own fingers pointing back at you, gently, lovingly, guiding you home to a fragmented part of your own soul that is crying out for your compassionate attention. Another devastating way the shadow pulls your strings is through the relentless, heartbreaking pattern of self-sabotage. Think about it. You work tirelessly, pouring your heart and soul into a project, positioning yourself perfectly for a major promotion. The final interview is set, success is within your grasp, and then, the night before, you accidentally oversleep, missing the opportunity of a lifetime. You do the deep inner work to heal from past relationships, you raise your vibration, and you finally attract a loving, emotionally available, healthy partner. Things are beautiful, peaceful, and everything you've ever wanted. And then, out of nowhere, you find yourself creating drama, picking fights, and methodically pushing them away until they have no choice but to leave. Why does this agonizing pattern repeat itself? Because your conscious mind, the part of you reading and understanding these words, genuinely desires growth, love, and success. But your shadow, operating from the depths, may hold a deep-seated core belief that you are fundamentally unworthy of these things. This feeling of unworthiness is not your fault. It is a toxic program that was likely installed in you as a child, perhaps through a relentlessly critical parent, a shaming experience at school, or a painful first heartbreak. So, as your conscious self begins to ascend towards the light of your desires, your shadow, like a heavy, rusted anchor chained to the keel of your soul, fiercely pulls you back down into the murky but familiar waters of not good enough. It creates an invisible glass ceiling that feels so real, so solid, yet it is forged entirely from the vapor of your own suppressed beliefs. It will do whatever it takes to ensure you remain in the vibrational frequency it knows, even if that frequency is one of struggle, lack, and quiet suffering. Because to the wounded shadow, the pain of the familiar is always perceived as safer than the terrifying unknown of true joy and success. And then there are the sudden, uncontrollable emotional reactions, the inner storms that gather and break within you in an instant, often without any logical warning. A friend makes a casual, offhand remark, and you are suddenly consumed by a tidal wave of sadness or a wildfire of anger that feels completely, wildly disproportionate to the situation. These intense, seemingly out-of-nowhere experiences are called triggers, and they are not random malfunctions of your emotional system. They are sacred messengers, urgent communiques from your shadow self. A trigger is a seemingly benign event in your present-day life that happens to vibrate at the same frequency as an old, unhealed wound from your past. Your partner's forgetfulness about picking up milk on the way home isn't just about the milk. On a subconscious level, it triggers the deep, searing wound of a childhood where you felt consistently forgotten, overlooked, and unimportant. Your boss's constructive critique about a report isn't just professional feedback. It lands on the raw, exposed nerve of a core wound from school, where a teacher shamed you in front of the class, making you feel fundamentally flawed and stupid. These emotional explosions are not your true adult self reacting. They are the desperate, primal cries of a younger part of you, an inner child that has been frozen in time, still experiencing the full, raw intensity of the original pain. Your shadow is using the stage of the present moment to scream about the unresolved trauma of the past, desperately trying to get your attention so that you can finally turn your loving gaze inward and offer the healing, the safety, and the validation that was never given to you then. Each trigger, no matter how painful, is a golden opportunity. It is a doorway, a sacred invitation to travel back in time and liberate a lost and suffering piece of your own precious soul. This understanding brings us to the most vital, life-altering truth of this entire journey. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is not a monster to be slain, a villain to be vanquished, or a demon to be exorcised. It is a wounded, abandoned, and terrified part of you. It is, in essence, a lost inner child, locked away in the cold, dark basement of your psyche, acting out in the only ways it knows how, with tantrums, sabotage, and projections to get your attention, to be seen, to be rescued. For years, perhaps your whole life, you've been bombarded with messages from a culture of toxic positivity. You've been told to fight your darkness, to just think positive, to ignore and suppress any negative feelings. But this pervasive spiritual bypassing is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes immense energy, and eventually the ball will shoot up to the surface with even greater, more unpredictable force. The path to true freedom, to unshakable inner peace, to a profound and lasting alignment with your divine purpose, is not through resistance, denial, or battle. It is through the sacred, alchemical process of integration. This process is called shadow work. It is the courageous, heroic act of turning around, taking a deep breath, and consciously choosing to walk down the creaking stairs into the cellar of your own psyche, not with a sword, but with a lantern. It's about looking at what you've hidden away for so long, not with judgment or shame, but with the radical compassion and deep, unwavering desire to understand that you would offer to a frightened child. Shadow work is a sacred pilgrimage back to yourself, not a battle against an inner foe. This pilgrimage begins with the simple, yet profoundly transformative act of awareness. You must become the sacred, non-judgmental observer of your own life. The single most powerful tool for this initiation is a journal, which will become your sacred space for raw, unfiltered truth. It is a sanctuary where no thought is too ugly, no feeling too forbidden. Each day, create a ritual for yourself. Sit down and ask your soul these questions. What triggered me today? What specific person, comment, or situation caused an intense, outsized emotional reaction within me? When I felt that surge of anger, what was the deeper, more vulnerable feeling hidden beneath it? Was it the sting of feeling disrespected? The ache of feeling unseen? The panic of feeling powerless? What quality in another person did I judge with harshness and intensity today? How might that very quality, perhaps ambition, sensuality, or assertiveness, exist within me as a disowned, repressed part of my own being? The key is to not censor yourself. Write down the ugliest, pettiest, most unspiritual thoughts that arise. This is not an exercise in being perfect. It is a radical act of being honest. This simple act of bearing witness to your inner world, of holding space for all of it without judgment, is the first and most crucial step in taking your power back. You are courageously bringing what has been operating in the unconscious darkness into the healing light of your conscious awareness. The second stage of this profound alchemical process is the practice of radical acceptance. As you begin to identify these hidden, fragmented parts of yourself, the simmering anger, the gnawing fear, the bitter envy, your first, deeply conditioned instinct will be to condemn them. You will hear the old voices of shame and judgment rise up. This is the old programming, the societal and familial conditioning that created the shadow in the first place. Your sacred task now is to consciously choose to do the opposite. You must meet these disowned parts with the boundless compassion of a divine mother. Imagine that the part of you that feels uncontrollable rage is a small, fierce guard dog that was never taught how to feel safe, a loyal protector who is simply overreacting from a place of old trauma. Imagine that the part of you that feels sick with jealousy is a lonely, heartbroken child who stands at the window, fearing they will never be chosen, never be truly wanted. Speak to these parts internally, with gentleness and love. Acknowledge their presence. Thank them for the role they have played, for trying to protect you in the only way they knew how. You can say, "I see you, my rage. I understand you are here because you feel a vital boundary was crossed. Thank you for showing me so powerfully where I need to protect my energy and speak my truth. I am strong enough to handle it from here now. This is not about letting the emotion run the show or acting it out destructively. It is about honoring its sacred message. You are, in effect, reparenting the wounded, fragmented parts of your own psyche, giving them the love, understanding, and unconditional acceptance they never received in the past. In this warm, compassionate embrace, their desperate, clenched fist grip on your life finally begins to loosen. Finally, after awareness and acceptance, we arrive at the luminous stage of integration. This is where the magic happens, where true, lasting transformation occurs. Once you are aware of a specific shadow aspect and have accepted its presence with compassion, you can begin to consciously and creatively integrate its potent energy into your life in a healthy, empowered way. You are no longer its victim, you are its alchemist. You are transmuting the lead of your pain into the gold of your power. For instance, if you discover a deep, volcanic well of suppressed anger within you, you can consciously choose to channel that potent, fiery energy. Instead of letting it erupt destructively, you can channel it into setting firm, healthy boundaries in your relationships, into speaking your truth with unshakable clarity, or into pursuing a passion or a cause with an unstoppable, focused drive. If you uncover a crippling shadow of deep insecurity, you can transform that quivering energy into a fierce, unwavering commitment to radical self-love. You can channel it into celebrating your small victories, into learning new skills, and into becoming your own greatest champion and advocate. You must understand that your shadow holds an immense reservoir of creative life force energy, psychic energy that you have been unconsciously using for years just to keep it suppressed. By integrating it, you reclaim that vast store of energy. You are no longer wasting your precious power by keeping the different parts of yourself at war with each other. You are finally directing your entire, whole, integrated being, light and dark, in the singular, powerful direction of your divine purpose. Remember the story of Michael, our quintessential nice guy. After his shocking outburst at work, he didn't spiral into shame. Instead, he got curious. He began his own courageous journey of shadow work. He realized his lifelong niceness wasn't a genuine expression of his soul, but a protective mask, a survival strategy to avoid conflict and rejection, born from a childhood where his own needs were consistently dismissed and deemed unimportant. He started journaling, and with each page, he uncovered decades of buried resentment, frustration, and unspoken desires. He began to accept that it was not only okay, but necessary to feel angry when his boundaries were violated. It was okay to have needs and to voice them. It was okay to say no without guilt. Slowly, painstakingly, he began to integrate his shadow. He didn't transform into a selfish jerk, as he had always feared. He transformed into a whole, authentic man. He learned to express his feelings calmly and confidently. He learned to set boundaries with a powerful combination of kindness and firmness. He channeled the assertive, powerful energy he had suppressed for so long into leading projects at work with a newfound vision and strength that inspired everyone around him. He was still a kind person, but now his kindness was authentic, emanating from a place of strength and self-respect, not a performance born from a deep-seated fear of abandonment. He finally took back control of his life, not by destroying his shadow, but by courageously turning to face it and embrace it as a long-lost part of himself. Your sacred journey is no different from Michael's. Mockley. Every single aspect of yourself that you have judged, shamed, and hidden away in the dark holds a magnificent gift waiting to be unwrapped. Your explosive rage holds the key to your personal boundaries and your untamed passion. Your paralyzing fear holds the key to your profound wisdom and your razor-sharp intuition. Your deep, aching sadness holds the key to your boundless compassion and your capacity for deep, meaningful connection. Your bitter jealousy holds the key, the shining compass, pointing directly to your soul's deepest desires. The ultimate goal of the spiritual path is not to become some sanitized, perfect, light-only being. It is to become courageously, gloriously whole. It is to embrace all that you are, the light and the dark, the sun and the moon, the pristine sunlit rooms of your persona, and the priceless golden treasures hidden in the cellar of your shadow. This is the true path of spiritual mastery. It is the epic journey from being an unconscious puppet of your fate to becoming the conscious, powerful, divine creator of your reality. You now hold the map. You now hold the key. The only question that remains is, are you brave enough to finally walk through the door and claim all the magnificent, powerful, and divine parts of who you truly are? The journey inward is the greatest, most rewarding adventure you will ever take. Embrace it. Your highest destiny awaits.